Okay, it's working, Baruch Hashem. Thank you very much. Okay, so we just finish off with this. Welcome back. Hello, welcome back, everyone. It's working now. My laptop came back to life. Okay, so as I was saying, in this week's parasha, it tells us, "Mishpatai tigal nafshechem." Yalkut Shimoni explains שהוא שונא את החכמים, יותר חכמים. So Rav Mordechai Rabinowitz is the author of Ner Lamor, Torah Mordechai. He was a rabbi in Lithuania, 1855. He lived in 1911. He says, I don't understand what's the connection between Mishpatai tigal nafshechem, you hate my mitzvot. Says Rashi, what do you mean you hate my mitzvot? It means you hate the chachamim. You hate the mitzvot or you hate the chachamim? And he says that it's very simple. What's the role of Chachamim? The role of Chazal is to transmit the Torah to the authentic explanation of the Torah. We know you can read the Torah, but it might not be a real explanation. Torah Sheba'al Peh, Chachamim tell us how to interpret every word of the Torah. And if a person is not actually a person who is repulsed by the mitzvot, then mishpat as in he repulses Chachamim, because they are the ones to teach us how to do those mitzvot. And if you don't respect the mitzvot, you don't respect the chachamim who are transmitting. That's the job of the chachamim. So you don't pay attention to them at all. In this, it's very interesting. Comment here in the Haftarah. No, here Haftarah Parashat Vayera. The pasuk is talking about the story of Isha Shunamit. The son died, and Elisha came to revive the child. So it's very interesting. Every Friday night, Rav Aryeh Levin and his Rebbetzin used to learn the parasha and Haftarah together. Very beautiful chavruta every Friday night. Maybe something you should take on. Okay, once when they got to the Haftarah or Parashat Vayera, so Rav Aryeh told his wife something very interesting. He says, the Sephardim, when they read the Haftarah, they stop reading after she sends for Elisha. But the Ashkenazim, they carry on, they read the whole story until the child came back to life. So Rav Aryeh said to his wife, I don't understand. How can a Sephardim go to bed, leaving everything in a suspense, you're not even finishing the story. We don't know the end of the story, you don't know whether he came back to life. I don't know. We know the ending. You go to the Ashkava, you're happy. So you know what his wife said to me, incredible. So the Rebbetzin answered, simple. Sephardim have a really munat chachamim. So they know if Elisha was sent to save the child, they know the end of the story. For sure he came back to life. If you go to the chacham, well, there can't be any other ending. But as Ashkenazim, we need a bit more. So she said to me, we need to see the end of it, Okay, that's a cute story. All right. She wasn't Sephardim. She was the mother? She was mother of Rabbi Eliashib. No. Oh. Yeah, she's the wife of Rabbi Eliashib. No. Rabbi Eliashib's daughter married Rabbi Eliashib. Rabbi Eliashib married his daughter.
Married to Rabbi Eliashib. His mother. He was the Shver and the Shviga.
That's right. And Rabbi Kanievsky is the daughter. She's the grandmother of Rabbi Kanievsky.
Yeah.
Okay. Last week we started off a discussion. I thought we'll get there, but we didn't. So let's revisit those questions and ask a few more questions. So we asked who's washing hands for pickles. Before you eat a pickle cucumber, you go to the thing, you take a pickle. You didn't touch a dime before or not?
No.
Yeah, so that's the question. Do you do? You don't? If you do, why do you or don't you? What's the question? Based on what we learned, Takana was only on bread. Why should you have to wash your hands for pickles? Okay. And the other question we asked that what? Spoil the seder. Why?
Chatz kapas.
For chatz kapas. You have to wash your hands for kapas. Okay. Are you allowed to wash your hands after? Are you allowed to talk after you wash your hands for kapas? By the way.
Yes.
You did say that today. You wash without kapas.
So you're allowed to wash your hands for bread.
You're allowed to.
You're only washing so the kids will ask. In that case, because during the year you wouldn't do it.
I mean, okay, that's because you're not allowed to talk. Yeah. All right. We'll see.
He explained why.
And what about dipping a biscuit in the tea? We started speaking about it. Yeah, you want to dip a biscuit in the coffee, in the cocoa? Yeah, you're allowed to or not? Or you France the baguette into the chocolate? Huh? You have to wash, but you're not touching the water. But you're not touching the water. The pickle, you're touching the whole pickle, but he's just touching the top of the biscuit, which is dry. What? The kabasa you don't touch. Pero el capaz is menos. we do less than kazait, right? So it's very hard to take less than kazait and not touch the stored water. And you take the thing top. Okay, we use potato. So you little square potato. Yeah. It's the best part of the seder. I know you can't even have more than kazait. You can't even have a kazait. Okay, anyway. Okay, listen to this. I don't think anybody thought about this. I never thought about it. But imagine. So I don't know the connection. You and your friends prepared wings for the World Cup. I don't know why. Using a delicious wine barbecue sauce. So basically you marinate we do that all the time. We marinate the chicken wings in barbecue sauce. And of course you have to wash your hands after eating the wings. There's no question about it. But you have to wash your hands before eating the wings.
No, but why is that not scared?
You're dipping the
The chicken is not wet. Like a sauce, a thick sauce.
Marination is not something that you eat.
you're sitting there, you marinated for like a few hours.
No, but at that point you don't eat. When you eat, it's already thick.
Well,
The sauce is thick or gone.
it's gone. Okay, if it's dried up after the barbecue, yeah. That's the question, yeah. Oh, good question. It's all the same question, really.
Is it mashke?
What?
Is
Okay.
Is it mashke?
Huh?
Is it mashke?
Okay, what? Yeah, that's the way we have to define what's a mashke, what's not. It's a very interesting topic. What? Very good, very good. We're going to talk about it. Well done.
So you
Okay.
make a difference.
Ketchup
You
is
put
down.
the ketchup on the chips rather than dip the chips on the ketchup.
Oh, we're going I don't think it makes a difference. Why should it make a difference?
That's boiling. That's a Cornish level. You put the jam and stuff underneath.
Yeah, it's a big question. You know the story of the Rebbe. Somebody once came to the Rebbe. He says, Mamash, I had a nest this morning. He says, what do you mean? A nest? He says, you know what? I took some morning, I made breakfast, I put butter and I put jam, and the bread fell on the floor, not on the side of the jam. You imagine? You always fall, you know.
Yeah.
You know, says, that's not a nest. You spread it on the wrong side. All right. So, okay, so that's a question. Okay, we're going to tell you about it. It's very interesting. The when, one, if, yes or no. Do you wash? You don't wash. If you do wash, when you do, when you don't, catch up. And okay, Shabbat morning. That you have to be an Israeli for this. But I'll teach you now. I'll have to educate you on how to eat your shalmi kugel. Do you know how to eat your shalmi? Do you know what is your shalmi kugel, first of all? Okay, it's really good. My wife made some shalmi kugel for the. You made, yeah, became too late. But she made for the engagement of Susan. Yeah. Anyway, so there's some goyim over there, mishpacha, whatever, and they said they ate it, and they're like they couldn't get with it. The brain got so confused, you know. You think you eat something, you don't. They couldn't get it. They loved it, but they couldn't. Huh? No, not pepper. Okay, I don't know. Yeah. No, they liked it, but they couldn't understand what they were eating. They didn't expect that. Anyway, so now going back to so you're having shalmi kugel. Anybody knows what is the real way of eating your shalmi kugel? Like a filter fish comes with a carrot, with a pickle. You can't eat your shalmi kugel without a pickle on top, okay? To the extent that it's so much part, the pickle, you got your shalayim, you see. So it's so part of the kugel, yeah, that it's like when you say mezanot on the kugel, you don't say adama on the pickle, because the pickle is part of it. It's tafel. You cover tafel, very good. It's not much part of it. So the question is like this. So you have, of course, so you have to put the pickle on the kugel. Make sure not hot bishul. Make sure that it's not hot, because then you're cooking it. Whatever. We're not going to do this now. So anyway, you put a kugel, and all right. Now, of course, you eat with your hands. That's the way you eat kugel. Of course, it's all part of it. And the question is. Do you have to wash for the pickle or not? If, let's say, you wash your hands for eating pickles, do you have to wash your hands for eating the pickle on top of the kugel?
No, because it's just a dressing.
So what? But it's a wet fruit, the wet vegetable.
But it's not really that wet.
It's very wet. It's a pickle. If it's not pickle, if it's not wet, it's not pickle. It's something else. Okay, so all right, it's a question. We have to see. You're right. You're hitting the pickle on the kugel. So let's see. All right, we'll leave it here for now. There's another totally different discussion. I don't know if we get to today. We'll see. Very, very interesting topic. But let's first finish this vegetable topic. So now, let's go. Let's start here. Okay, so we're going to need the booklets. Just 1 second, we find the right page. Oh no, I've got the wrong page. 1 second. Sorry, everything got messed up because the computer went off. Okay, here we are. All right, so after we learned all the halachot of how to wash and dry our hands before eating bread and the bracha, etc., we elaborated on it. Now we're going to talk whether other foods also require netilat yadayim. Now, let's a little reminder before we carry on. We started off the introduction to Hilchot netilat yadayim. The Chachamim made a takana. They enacted that you have to wash your hands for 2 reasons. What are the 2 reasons why we wash our hands before eating the bread? So the first one is, we have tuma for what? What's the original takana? For teruma. The original takana was for teruma because really the Chachamim decreed, I'm just doing a little recap. Chachamim decreed the stam yadayim shniyot, which means by default, because our hands go everywhere, they gave it a tuma. Okay? You don't know what the situation of your hand, they gave him a din of tameh. Your hands are tameh, and this is why you have to wash your hand for teruma. You're not allowed, if a person, a Kohen, in the times of Bet HaMikdash, when the Kohanim used to receive the teruma, the tithing, you buy produce, you have to give the Kohen a portion, which is holy. That part, if the Kohen touched it before he washed his hand, the fruit, the bread, whatever he had, became tameh. So the Kohen always has to wash his hands. Now we took on, Chachamim were metaken, that every single person has to wash his hand before eating bread. Why? So we explained that since the ikar teruma deoraita goes only on 3 things. Mina Torah, you only have to separate teruma from grain, the 5 grain, tirosh, wine and oil. So wine and olive oil. Now, wine and olive oil, usually you don't touch it because it's in a cup. The thing you do touch is things made of grain, and the main thing made of grain is bread. So Chachamim made a takana that every single guy here, who's not a Kohen, and even in our days when there's no Bet HaMikdash, we should get accustomed to wash our hands so that Mo Kohen remembers to wash his hands, not now when Bet HaMikdash will be rebuilt. So you get into the habit of it. So we all do this for Mo, for Bet HaMikdash of it. That's how we remember Bet HaMikdash. Now you might think over the top, but this is Takanat Chachamim, Shlomo HaMelech, Bet Shammai Bet Hillel, it's Asher Kideshanu, it's a mitzvah d'oraita to listen to our Chachamim and follow the rules. Now we can't ask questions. Yes, I don't believe into it. Don't believe into it. Mitzvata tigal nafshechem. I mean, this is how the Hashem wants us to listen to Chachamim. So this became an obligation that we have to do. So this is one reason. The other reason is a Gemara which says, "V'tkadishtem," based on the pasuk, "V'tkadishtem v'tkadoshim," cleanliness. Cleanliness is connected to kedusha as well, to holiness. Your hands should be clean before you start eating bread. And we said dafka bread because bread is the main seuda, whatever. Okay. Now, the Gemara in Pesachim, this is what we learned so far. Now we're building an extra stage to this halacha. The Gemara in Pesachim, we're going to see in a booklet, note 33. The Gemara talks about note 33. Flight mode. Yes. Very good. So, okay, we're actually starting, we had questions, and now we're actually starting the new material. So let's see, the Gemara in Pesachim, note 33. Amar Roshaya, Kol shetibulo b'mashke, it's on page 8. Kol shetibulo b'mashke, tzarich netilat yadayim. Listen to this. Anything that you dip in a liquid, you should wash your hands. Okay, this is what the Gemara says in Pesachim. Kol shetibulo b'mashke. Yeah, very good. Pesachim, you just learned it, correct? Yeah, in the Oraisa, you just learned it. You tell me when you learned it. Very good. Whenever you dip in mashke, you have to wash your hands. Now, let's look at the Mishnah in Masechet Machshirin. The Mishnah makes us a list of 7 liquids which, according to the Torah, are considered a mashke. What are the 7 liquids? Shiva mashkim hen. Hatal, dew. Yeah, the dew. Well, Ve'amayim, water. Ve'ayayin, wine. Ve'ashemen, olive oil. Ve'adam, blood. Ve'achalav, milk. Udvash, dvorim. And honey's, bees' honey.
So before honey, we've said
What? Blood, milk,
After milk, why say it's made?
That is mine.
No.
Milk, honey,
After milk.
honey, milk and honey.
It had to be olive
Bees
oil?
honey.
What about other type of oil?
No, olive oil, I think, yeah.
So
I think olive oil only.
it's funny.
I don't think it's considered mashka. I don't think so. It's considered meperot. Orange juice is
Bayles.
not. You see? Orange juice, apple juice, all fruit juices are not included except grape juice, olive oil, and wine and oil. Olive oil.
Rabbi Bayles.
There is a dispute amongst the Rishonim.
How do you do blood?
Animal blood.
Fish blood.
Or animal.
Or locust blood. Kosher locust blood.
Okay. I have an interesting comment here. Interesting. Okay, we'll see. No, because there was a big question coming up. I'll tell you when it comes up. We'll see when we go to the Halacha. Interesting. Too much kosher blood. All right. There's a dispute amongst the Rishonim as to the reason why one would be obligated to wash his hands before eating foods that came into contact with the 7 liquids. Why? What's the reason? Bread, we give a nice reason. Why do you have to wash your hands for the 7 liquids? And the difference, the 2 reasons you'll see, and based on the reason, it will have a major impact in halacha. Okay, so let's see the 2 reasons. Reason number 1 is Rabbeinu Yonah. You do know Rabbeinu Yonah, where they live? In Girona, just north of Spain. One of the Rishonim. Okay. So he writes the following. Rabbeinu Yonah writes in note number 35. Ella, why liquids? This bread we made a takana, but why liquids? Ella mipne shehamashkim em alulim yoter. Liquids are much more susceptible to tuma. Why? Shemekablim tuma mayadayim shem sheniyot. Kamo truma. Liquids. If my hands are sheniot, sheni, remember it says a different level of tuma. Rishon, sheni, shlishi, revi, we spoke about the levels. Yadayim by default are sheni la tuma. So if I touch, we said chulin, any produce which is not holy, does not get contaminated by my hand. But as soon as you go to teruma, which is holy, or kodashim, korbanot, can become tameh. So he said like this: liquids are much more susceptible to tuma from the hands, shem shniot, kamo truma lak tuma, v'nasu rishonim letameh dvarim acherim. Now there's another takanat chachamim. Generally, the tuma always goes down. You see, a dead body is avi avot tuma. Then the person who touches the dead body becomes av, and then that person who is av touches food that becomes rishon. Then he goes to sheni, then to shlishi, then to revi. Right? The tuma always goes down in level. There's a takanat chachamim, a new takana, who said that if a sheni touches water, instead of the water becoming shlishi, it goes up to rishon. Especially takanat chachamim. The reason why they made that takana because there are certain liquids which are very tameh, but if automatically, for example, liquids that come out from like a zav, yeah, somebody who has a salmon emission from his body. All these liquids are very tameh. There are certain liquids which are very tameh, yeah, or the zav spits. The saliva from the zav is tameh, and in whatever, all these things. So therefore, chachamim say on liquids they were more strict. You don't have to know the reason. It's not noga. But what we have to know from Rabbeinu Yonah is that liquids are very susceptible to tuma. Whatever, anything that can disqualify tuma. For example, my hand, which is sheni, that touches tuma, the tuma becomes shilishi. If that same hand touches mashkin liquid, liot chila, it become rishon. Number 1. Automatically, they go up instead of going down.
Even from 3 to 1?
No. My hand, which is sheni, touches water, becomes rishon.
If you're 4 to 1 as well, or 4 to 3?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it says yadayim shashniyot goes to 1. Lefichach echmiru. I'm not going to learn. Well, no. It's a special takana. Usually it goes down. The special halacha, anything which could disqualify teruma, like my hands, which Chachamim said my hands are sheni and makes teruma shelishi. If I touch a liquid, the liquid becomes rishon. The special boundaries Chachamim made as protections, because otherwise people confuse this drink with that drink. They made a general rule. Okay. Now, lefichach what? All 7 liquids. Mashkin. All 7 liquids. לפיכך החמירו בהם חכמים ומחמיר והצריכו לכל דבר שטיבולי במשקים מנטילת ידיים. And this is the reason why Chachamim said any food which is wet from any of the 7 liquids mentioned above, if I touch it with my hand, it would make the liquid tameh. Therefore, I need to wash my hands before eating a wet fruit. Do you understand? In the same way that we said before, if you touch bread, so if you eat bread, you have to wash your hands. So too, if you eat a liquid, if you eat What? Why not?
On one hand, you're telling me we're being not there because of liquids. Some liquids are so strict,
Yeah.
but they're not included in the list. You made a whole list of things that are not. In
They have to be shiva mashkin.
Yeah.
No, these liquids are tamei anyway.
I understand. You
Yeah,
understand?
no. That's the reason of the gzerat chachamim, but the way machmir like this.
You understand
Yeah,
why
yeah.
the logic doesn't work?
Yeah, but you're right. But because
They're telling us these are the liquids that are problematic. And the one, and because there are also,
Yeah.
also liquids.
No. Yeah, okay, you have to look at the takana. It's not written here. I'm just saying from my memory, but I think that's the
You
reason.
understand the
Yeah.
the logic.
I think.
It is water that makes you tahor.
Yeah, no. I said no. If it's in mikveh, my water cannot make it tamei. If I wash my hands and my hands are wet and I touch someone else, I become tamei.
The water has some higher sort of level to bring you up or down.
Yeah, okay, it's true. Usually like this. Usually zele umatzeh. Okay, very good, Rabotai. So let's continue. Okay, so this is the reason of Rabbi Yonah. Let me repeat. Okay, so again, Rabbi Yonah says that washing hands before eating was only enacted for bread, right, originally, because the majority of Turma is bread, like we said above. But water is similar to, or liquids are similar beverages, that's a more correct word, the Shiva Mashkim, the 7 beverages, they are similar, why? To that reason of the Takana, because both can become Tameh through Sheni. Because that's all you have to know. You don't have to remember the details, it becomes Rishon, etc. The main point you need to remember that water is like bread. It can be like teruma can become tameh through sheni, makes it teruma shelishi. So to water, if it touches sheni in my hand, can make the liquid tameh. Okay. So again, so now this again. Okay, so if Chachamim made a takana, then if she's wet, it's also connected to this reminder for the Kohanim to be tahor for teruma. It's all the same things, all to protect the tahara of teruma, etc. Now, so this is Rabbeinu Yonah. Tosafot, Rabotai, let's continue. Tosafot says another reason. That's Tosafot Pesachim. Those who learned Oraisa with Tosfos should know. Tosafot says Kol Shetibulo. It's quoted here. Tosafot disagrees with Rabbeinu Yonah. Okay, it's French against Spanish. So Tosafot says, Pesachim, he writes the halacha of washing before eating wet food is not a reminder for teruma, like we said, Rabbeinu Yonah, you got to do the chotuma, but a totally new halacha. The svara is then one should not eat tameh food, because when you eat tameh food, you become tameh, right? Okay, let's read it in Tosafot. Venire, the netilat dehacha is totally different reason. The reason why we wash our hands with wet drinks, wet food, is ella. It's not because kedusha nekiyut kmo benama like with bread. It's nothing to do with the reason of the bread. Ella mishum shelo yitameh mashkin liot techila. The problem is if you touch the liquid becomes rishon. You are forbidden from contaminating your body. Because it's halacha, okay, we're learning all Hilchot Tumah here, al-regel achat, on 1 foot, but it doesn't matter. What? Okay, let's see. There's halacha that anyone who eats Rishon or Sheni becomes Sheni. It's not like that Chachamim. If you eat Rishon or Sheni, you become Sheni. You are what you eat, whatever. Okay. Even Cholin. So today, everyone is tameh, and everyone eats tameh food anyway. Says Tosafot, incredible. Let's read here. Lefi ze nireh, Tosafot points out, en levarech al ota netila. He says, therefore, if you do wash your hands, al netilat yadayim, you don't make a bracha for this. Why not? There's no mitzvah. There's a Gemara which says in Cholin, mitzvah lishma divrei Rabbi Elazar ben Arach. The mitzvah to listen to Rabbi Elazar ben Arach, who quoted the pasuk, who says that you have to wash your hands. But anyway, so he says there's no mitzvah here. כל שכן ענן שלנו נזהרים מלטמאות עצמנו. In all this we all time anyway. ומלאכול אוכלים טמאים. Who doesn't eat טמא food? We all eat טמא food. ואין לנו צריכים לאותה נטילה. תוספות says we don't need to wash our hands. והמברך הרי זה מברך ברכה לבטלה. So תוספות says two things. First of all, you don't need to wash your hands because the whole point of washing your hands is a special halacha. You're not allowed to contaminate yourself. You can't eat tameh food because you get contaminated. You know this? Who is not contaminated? We go to cemetery, we go here with it. All the food we touch are tameh because somebody tameh touched it. So there is no, this halacha doesn't apply today. And if you do wash your hands, chas v'shalom, don't make a bracha because bracha levatala. So you have two extremes here. Rabbi Yonah says it's an obligation like bread. It's all part of the takanat chachamim that because of teruma, because without going to details of Rabbi Yonah, but he says because if you touch the food, just like teruma, when you touch you make it tameh, when you touch the liquid make it tameh, chachamim made it takana because of nekiyut, same reason as bread. Okay, so Rabbi Yonah, bread we make a bracha, we wash for bread today, we make a bracha. So too, a wet fruit, deoraita, takanat chachamim, Rabbi Yonah would say, you have to wash your hands with a bracha. Tosafot says, no way. Wet food is a totally new category of a totally new reason. It's time that the halacha in order to contaminate yourself, in order to eat tameh food. Today we eat tameh anyway, so who cares if it's wet, not wet? Don't wash, and if you do wash, don't say bracha. So two extremes. It's not, it says, it's got nothing to do with it. He says, "Ena mishum shleitut, ela mishum shleitameh, v'asur lifsol et gufo." It's asur to contaminate yourself. This halacha doesn't apply nowadays because we're tameh anyway. What? With the blind sugya, you want to be mine over there. Okay, so since the obligation, okay, so these are the two svarot here. So what's the halacha? Do we have to wash our hands and make a bracha? Or do we not wash our hands? And of course, we don't make a bracha. So the answer to this halacha is, if you want to be shabura, we are learning Timan Kof Nun Chet. Save that, well done. אם אוכל דבר, קוף נ"ח סעיף ד', אם אוכל דבר שטיבולו באחד משבעה משקים, if someone eats אוכל, which is wet with one of the 7 liquids. Okay, by the way, what are the 7 beverages? So he makes a famous siman. Yad shachat dam. The hand slaughtered blood. It's just an acronym. It's a way to remember. Yad is yain, dvash. Shachat is what? Shemen, chalav, yeah, tal. And dam stands for dam and mayim. These are the 7 beverages, 7 liquids, which will make you, which if the food is dipped into one of these 7 liquids, then you're gonna have to wash your hands. So again, Shulchan Aruch says, so if the food is wet, whether it's a fruit or vegetable or anything, any food, velonit nagev, and it's still wet. If you dry it, you don't have to wash your hands. But if it's still wet, vafilu ein yadav nogod b'makom hamashke. Even if you don't touch the place of a liquid, so you take a biscuit, you dip it into your whiskey, whatever. Yeah, and it's dry or coffee, but when you touch the biscuit, it's dry, but it doesn't matter because some part of the fruit is wet. Tzarich netila. So Shulchan Aruch says, like Rabbi Yonah, you have to wash your hands, but velo bracha, like Tosafot. It's fake brachot. So on one hand, we wash our hands, but we don't make a bracha. And the kaizon, vafil rama kaizon. Afilo eno metabel rak shiur rosh ayerek. Even if you only dip the tip of the vegetable, or the fruit, you should wash your hands. Even if it's just the tip of it, you have to wash your hands.
No, can you be quiet, please?
We should be quiet. Okay. Okay, let's continue. I just want to share with you a beautiful idea. It's just some rabbi posted on a group. I thought it was really nice. 1 second. Here it is. Yad shachat dam. So yain, dvash, okay? So if you notice, he said these 7 beverages represent the 7 chagim of the year. Okay? Can you think of connections?
Wow.
So let's go. Yain. Yain Pesach. Dalet, dvash. Let me tell you. Dvash, Rosh Hashanah. Shemen. Chanukah, Chalav. Shavuot, Tal. Tal is Pesach. Tal Pesach, but you already told me Yain is Pesach. So what's Yain? Morid Tal, no Tal. Yain is Purim, very good. Yain is Purim, Dvash, Rosh Hashanah, Shemen is Chanukah, Chalav is Shavuot, Tal is... So you want to say Pesach. So the Rabbi Tugendorf says Tal is Tchiat HaMetim of Yom Kippur, the Jew of Tchiat HaMetim. But then there's a certain of Yaakov Gabbai, which is the brother of Shlomi Gabbai, the rabbi in Geneva. So he said, no, you heard the Tal is Morid Tal. Okay, Dam.
No,
Oh, so the Rabbi Tugendorf said Dam is Pesach. Maybe say Tal is Pesach, so why is Dam? So Dam is Yom Kippur because you have to sprinkle the blood everywhere. Yeah, Yom Kippur, Dam. Okay, and then you've got Mayim, which is Sukkot is Mayim. Mayim, you prefer. Okay, very good. What's the connection? That's the beautiful idea. You say water makes something susceptible to Tum'ah. Yamim Tovim המכשיר לקבל קדושה. Yeah, so it's the ימים טובים bring us the קדושה. The water can bring us the טומאה, the ימים טובים bring us the קדושה. That's a beautiful idea. Okay, so weiter. So how? I thought it was a very cute idea. Never heard this before. So now, so again, we saw in Shulchan Aruch that one has to wash. If you eat pickles, you have to wash your hands without bracha. What happens if you? Okay, let's just vote. Those first don't have to wash your hands at all. Aruch makes a compromise. Okay, so that's what the Mishabah Sif Katan Chaf writes, that it's actually a compromise between the two. Yesh miktat rishonim, so he goes into the whole thing, and therefore he makes it, don't make a bracha. That's the Mishabah. Mashkin עכשיו שאנחנו כולנו תמת, ויול תמת, לפרח לא יברך על נטילת ידיים שתספק ברכות להקל, וידום מקברכה. This is Mishabah. Now, the Magen Avraham, and this many people might be very happy to hear of the Magen Avraham. והנה מגן אברהם מביא בשם לחם חמודות. He brings from ספר לחם חמודות. יהיה מגן אברהם מדברנו ואלי אחרונים. He writes, העולם נוהגים שלא ליטול. The custom is not to wash our hands. People don't wash their hands. ויש להם על מה שיסמוכו. This is what we rely on, which is תוספות. You go to the שנים to rely on. אבל הרבה אחרונים החמירו בדבר. מני אחרונים המחמיר וכתבו, no, not true. זה אחרי זה הפוסקים. That you have to wash your hands even in our days to the extent they go on מווילנה. Oh, they have to even make a bracha.
Like Rabbinina. Wow.
Like Rabbinina ממש. Yakim. ולכן, he said, even though we don't make a bracha, כל פנים, one, שמשתבא concludes, one should not eat without נטילה, and therefore you need כל דיני נטילה, כמו לפת. Therefore he says, you should wash your hands.
So the grace is here,
You go with that, you make a bracha. You don't make a bracha?
So
I
don't need your things.
You don't eat what I think. What? Yeah, probably. Okay, so it should be noted. Okay, we'll see that, by the way. Might not, because you'll see. Could be less than kazait to make a bracha.
What is the problem, Rabbi?
Kazait could be to make a bracha. No, because you eat with a spoon. You conflict with your hand? Okay, no, something that it's only because you touch with your hand. Something you touch with a spoon, you don't have to.
I heard someone say
No, not for this halakha. Yeah. So somebody wrote on a Rabbanim group, you know the Chashibarov, they wash his hand for the ketchup. Ketchup is mostly liquid.
Who's that? The Bear said that he doesn't have.
1 second, we're going to talk about it. Lat. Shwish, as they say? Shwai. Okay, we'll see. Nachan. We're going to elaborate on it. Just it should be noted, Mishnah Burain Seif Katan Yud Bet writes, so it's an important note here, which was a big debate in a group of the rabbis, and it's not yet, it's not resolved yet. Davar Shen is in Yud Bet. He says, okay, even if you wash the fruit because it's dirty, not because you're trying to eat the liquid, it doesn't matter, you still have to wash your hands, okay? Davar Shen, it's quite funny. In the mirror, somebody once posted a notice on the dining room door. He put that, make sure to wash the oranges before you eat it, because oranges got some little bugs on it. So when you peel, then it goes on the fruit. And somebody wrote a comment, and remember to do it yesterday. You know, you think you peel it, you don't touch the food, but you know. Okay, anyway, carry on. That's an important one. Something that you normally don't dip in a liquid, או להיות עליו משקה או to be wet, אין צריך נטיית ידיים. Why? The milta, the lo shchicha, lo gazru banan. Because it's not common, something that you don't usually dip. If you did dip it, then you don't make a bracha for it. Interesting halacha. So the example which they give in Smichat Chaver is, for example, honey is put on a tomato. You don't dip tomato in honey, do you?
No.
Okay, so you have to wash your hands before eating the tomato. What? Okay, so I tell you, this went on a group, and somebody came along. One of the rabbis was challenging this halacha, and he says like this. Listen to this shaya. He says it's not true, because, for example, dam, blood, is one of the 7 liquids, right? Dam is one of the 7 liquids. He says dam. Anyway, who drinks blood?
Yeah.
He says when you drink blood. If you dip a cracker in blood, I mean, I understand. Why? אסור לאכול דם. You know how to eat blood anyway. ודם, דגים וחגבים, maybe it's fish, fish blood or locust blood is allowed. That's not a mashke. Dam, that's not the dam we're talking about. He says could be the guy has to eat blood for pikuach nefesh. Talking about human blood or animal blood, which is considered liquid. We're talking about dam is dam when you shchita an animal. Not dam dagim chagavim. Maybe somebody for pikuach nefesh has to eat blood. The doctor says you have to eat blood. It's good for your iron. I don't know what it's good for. Pikuach nefesh. But then you have to wash your hand if you dip your carrot in the blood. No, but it's still also. Okay. Anyway, now. Who dips things into blood? If you say something, we say if you dip tomato in honey, it's not a derech. Then you don't have to wash your hands. And if you dip a carrot in blood, that is common. I mean, mechtesa.
In Asian food, they use oxblood.
Ah, okay.
They have oxblood soup.
Ah, okay.
But we're talking about should much.
Yeah, I don't know. So I don't know. No, one thing is. So what is considered? What is considered not derech? So in Smichat Chaver he writes dipping a tomato in honey. Now tomato is dipped usually, not in honey, but you dip tomato in olive oil. When Shabbat Davashen Debo means if the item is not dipped usually, but something is usually dipped, just it happened to be yeah, that's what the tiny was. It hasn't been resolved yet.
There's mayonnaise comes in oil.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, but oil is no problem. Olive oil mayonnaise.
Yeah.
Does it make a difference? But that's not oil. It's egg and oil.
Yeah, but what? It's oil. Okay, so the big shaila is you look at it as an oichel or mashke.
It's the same thing. Tea. It's not oil.
Okay, but it's a mashke.
No,
You say tea is not mashke. You're telling me. For shiva mashkim is not mashke. Okay, I don't know. It's a big difference. I don't think it makes a difference how much. You put the oil on it, you put this on. I don't think it makes a difference. But again, okay, we talk about if you eat with a fork. Talk about when you eat with your hands so far. Okay, very good. So okay, this needs to be elaborated. What's it there? But I don't know. I haven't changed in my notes. I'm not convinced. I wrote to Eliada because Rabbi wrote it and I highlighted the Eliada. Please address this point. He hasn't done yet. Because the example he gives, I don't think it's a good example. He wrote honey in tomato. I'm sorry, a tomato in honey, but tomato is dipped usually. So it's not lashon mishaboa is something that you don't normally dip. Not the way you dip it.
No, maybe tomato with honey.
Davar shen darko letovlo, it says.
When have you ever heard tomato with honey?
Yeah, no, but
That's the example he's giving.
once it's something that you normally dip. So the fact that you dip into something and nobody dips, it doesn't make a difference. It's like the blood. Okay, so we have to mevarer this.
We go further. You have the Orthodox.
What do you say?
He discusses cookies and milk.
Okay, fine.
So I'm saying
That's another point. Okay, we'll talk. Okay, fine. Okay, Pesach night. Pesach. Okay.
It's the wrong page.
Guys, so the time.
The other side.
The most famous time that we talk about this halacha is the Leil Seder. So everybody has a custom to wash their hands and put it in the karpas. Does the whole family wash or just the father?
That's a sympathetic tangent.
What? What do you mean?
You did? Yeah. No?
If what?
If one of you holds that
Using cutlery. Okay. Anyway, so this became a big discussion again on the group. I don't know, for some reason, I've never seen the group so busy. There's so much going on here. Okay, so the most famous time we dip in is Leil Seder. Okay, so we wash our hands before karpas. Usually karpas is depends where you come from, potatoes, radish, celery, carrot. You do celery, no? Okay. Into salt water or vinegar again. Okay. But no, I don't dip the apple in vinegar. No, apple in sugar. Okay. Why is there everyone?
Because okay.
That's
Yeah.
why we don't. That's why you don't wash before you dip the apple in the sugar.
It's vinegar. One of the shiva mashkin.
No?
No.
So you don't have to wash your hands for karpas.
Exactly.
No, we just.
I dilute with water. Ah, okay, good one.
So say again, sorry?
My grandfather, my mother's side, that's what we'll wash. My mother, my parents, not.
Vinegar, no?
All right. Why is that everyone? Okay. I don't know. Ah, it's wine vinegar, maybe. Yeah, maybe wine vinegar. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's continue. Why is that everyone is careful to follow the halacha on Pesach and not throughout the year? Throughout the year, you see many families don't. We Magen Avraham and all this, but Pesach everybody does. Yeah? I don't understand. If you follow the Magen Avraham, they should follow Magen Avraham on Pesach as well. If you don't follow Magen Avraham, then all year round you should wash your hands. So the Taz, right? Taz, Teresa, where's my one? Yeah. Taz, so it's on note number 37. This is a revealed rebuke. An open rebuke. All year round they don't wash their hands for dipping the food into water. What manishtana is on Pesach night? Everybody makes the Tadayim and all the rest of the year. Right? If because Pesach night, you have to be specially holy. Okay, says Asetim Miteshuvah is more important. But Asetim Miteshuvah, we machmir with not only Pat Israel. You want to be extra holy, Asetim Miteshuvah, you dip the vegetable into a thing, you have to wash your hands. Say, I don't get it. It's just people are not careful, they lax. People are just not consistent. So he's very, very upset about it. By contrast, the Chaye Adam number 38 says, Yitol Yadav, why? The Medina Kadosh etibulu b'mashkei tzarich netilat yadayim. Based on the original halacha, whenever you dip something in a mashkei, you have to netilat yadayim. Ve'af agav b'zman hazeh en noagim ken. The Chaye Adam says nowadays we don't. Rak mi sheneg b'prishut. Only those who are extremely frum, they're very, very careful. They dip, but most people don't. Mikol makom b'leil Pesach noagim litol kedin netilah b'lo bracha. Why? It's just to get the kids to ask. That's all. On Pesach night, we want the kids to ask, hey, why are you washing? Okay, and that's why. It's not something, we don't do random stuff. We don't start banging on the ceiling, but we do things that are based on halacha. We don't keep it to it today because it's not okay nowadays, but we do it. Oh, okay, very good. Okay, so what should be the answer if your kid asks you? So if you're frum and you wash your hands all year round, so the kids, okay. If you follow most of the Rishonim and Acharonim and Mishabura and Rabbi Yosef, yeah, we say that you have to wash your hands. Then your kids ask you, why do you have to wash your hands? And of course, you have to, all year round we do. The question is, why didn't you ask me all year? Why are you asking me tonight? You have to ask your kids. I mean, okay, so that's, yeah, but. Yeah, but okay, because then it's the Morah said you have to ask on Pesach. Okay, now, but if you follow Tosafot, what are you going to tell your kids? Why are you washing your hands? You have to tell him because in the time of the Bet HaMikdash, they used to wash their hands. They had an obligation in those days, and to be careful to be very tahor, you would wash your hands. And tonight we just did it because I wanted to ask a question. Okay. Now, Rabbi Elazar Cohen, however, comes along. Rabbi Elazar Cohen was the Rav of the city of Pultusk. He's the son-in-law of the Chavas Das. It's in 1800s. The Rabbi Elazar Cohen, 1800. In a sefer called Zichron Niflot, it says a beautiful word here, number 39. You keep it for Leil Seder. Remember. So it says like this. I think the minhag of Klal Israel is Torah. ומדינה צריך לטול בלילה, אז הוא לא, on Pesach not Medina. No, not Sidonia. According to the Din, on Pesach night, it's not just for the kids to ask the question, it's a Din that applies on Pesach and Nazareth of the year. Listen to this Geonut here. צריך לטול בלילה הזה לירקות, זה לוקח לטיבול שני. On Pesach you have to wash for Uchatz. Why? דעתנן אין הנזרים כל השנה. Why all year round we're not careful? יקוץ מגן אברהם, תסמכו עצמם לדברי תוספות. We were down to Tosafot to say that it doesn't apply nowadays. But what does Tosafot write? הנטילת דרך לא משום נקיות. It's not because of Kedusha and everything like bread. כמו נעמה like bread. אלא משום שלא יטמא המשכין, להיות תחילה, we don't want the liquid to become טמא when touched with your hand. etc. You're not allowed to be posed gufo. So that's what says in the din. You're not allowed to contaminate yourself, and if you touch fruit with your hands, which haven't done it yet time, you contaminate the water, and therefore it's associated. And this was relevant in those days. This is not relevant in our days, except Pesach night. Why Pesach night is different? מה נשתנה הלילה הזה? He said, listen to this, beautiful חידוש. והנה בלילה הזו הכל חייבים לאכול דבר שתבלו במשקה. Tonight, everyone has an obligation to dip the karpas in water. That's part of the seder. Kadesh Ruchas karpas, you have to. וכשיבנה המקדש, when the מקדש will be rebuilt, we'll do ליל הסדר again, like this year. יהיה חייבים לאכול קורבן פסח גם כן שפר דיומר He said, 1 second. We're so used to Kadesh, karpas, we don't, imagine we don't do Ruchas because we don't need to wash our hands in all days. So when Bet HaMikdash will be rebuilt, you do let us say that like your father, your grandfather, your great-grandfather did. Kadesh, karpas, yachatz, it's no Ruchas. It says, last year I didn't wash my hands. Why do I have to wash my hands now? It's not part of the procedure. And the problem is, when Bet HaMikdash comes, a big problem. Because v'yipasel gufo melechol korban Pesach, imagine Leil HaSeder, you're going to dip your karpas, yeah? You're not going to wash your hands before, you wash your hands only for... You are tameh now, and then you want to eat korban Pesach. Hashem yishmor. You are tameh, you can't eat korban Pesach. And therefore, we have to do it now. Look, we're not going to mix up the Leil HaSeder. Start doing the every evening. You dip your vegetables. You don't have to dip. You know, yes, you know. But Pesach night, you have to. Everybody does. And you remember, this is the seder. We never wash our hands. And when it comes to the Mikdash, you'll do the same. And it's a major michshol. Therefore, it's a midina you have to wash. Interesting chidush. It's a din you have to chodesh. Yeah. So you do like the balabas. That's an Ashkenaz. The Yekishemina, no?
If you hold, everyone does it. That's because really you hold. Like the Achronim, you should do it around.
Yeah. But if you don't, if you follow this pshat of Rabbi, it's just a problem. It's only if you follow Chai Adam. And you do the last question, the father does the question. That works very well.
Yeah.
Then you're consistent with all, yeah. Beautiful, yeah, it works very well. Okay, let's continue.
You used to have chasa, you didn't have chasa.
I know, you're at chasa. You can use chasa. Those two games, yeah, not doing it.
Potatoes, definitely.
Okay, so, no, sorry, I opened the wrong file. 1 second. Okay, so anyway, Tachlis, how do you pass on halacha lema'aseh? Today we saw Magen Avraham, we saw Shulchan Aruch, Magen Avraham. What do we do? You know, what the poskim nowadays say. So number 40, the Rashom Zalman Auerbach, yeah, a contemporary posek from Yerushalayim. Ragil Rabbeinu lomar shenireh, because there's a Chaya Adam who says nobody does, only the very holy people. Listen to the Rabbi Shlomo Zalman, incredible. Rabbeinu used to say. שנראה שבדורות שלפנינו לא נהגו בזה כל כך גם במדקדקים. Previous generations, even the people are very particular with הלכה, they didn't wash their hands. Why? שכן החיי אדם, listen to this, the חיי אדם in ספר מצבת משה. He wrote a ספר, I don't know what it is exactly, but it's a הספד for his son, לא עלינו, the חיי אדם lost his son, he did a הספד for him, and he says, you know how special my son was? שבחייו, בן שבחיו, sorry, amongst the compliments said בהם, שנזהר בנטילה זו. He says, my son was such a holy person, he used to wash his hands before. That's what he said in his pet for his son, something like unheard of. My son used to wash his hands before eating wet fruits or vegetables. And we said Chai Adam was, even on Pesach, he says only for the kids to ask questions. Like we saw. So we see, it seems like, הרי שגם בווילנה, even in Vilna, it seems like Chai Adam lived in Vilna, בימי רבנו הגר"א, in the days of the Gaon of Vilna, where the Gaon of Vilna himself washed with beracha, it seemed that the community around him didn't wash their hands. לא יכבו דבר, כי מי חידש כולם, these special people. וגם בדור שלפנינו, לא הקפידו, רבי שלמה זלמן says, I remember the generation before me, many תלמידי חכמים didn't do it. אבל אתה, Today, talking about our generation, our generation is more holy. We are better. Many people do it in our days, כמו שכתבו הפוסקים, מכיוון שהרבה האחרונים החמירו מאוד, because many האחרונים המחמיר, אין להקל למעשה, you should not be lenient. Mr. Bura said in our days, you have to be a they found like there are certain expectations in our generations that we didn't have in previous generations, and this is relevant in many things. You should know that the feeling that probably Chafetz Chaim war, we wouldn't look at. I mean, we wouldn't think it's kosher. I mean, today everything's done with so many diktukim and idurim, got all the technology and all that. Water is so accessible. There's so many things have changed, and for some reason we took on chumrah. You know, they used to have one lulav for the whole town. Do you think this lulav look like? You know, and this is probably the how do you get lulav into Poland? From Morocco to Poland. Now imagine how it looked like when you go there. So today we've got everything accessible. So we upgraded our chumrot. He said this is one of them. So that's why today people, Achshur Dara, the generation has improved. We wash our hands. You should know. Rabbi Ovadia Yosef also says that one is obligated to wash his hand before eating wet fruits. Okay, but okay. So you got the Chayei Adam. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not telling you what to do. But
if we also find him, why not?
Shulchan Aruch says you have to.
You know Moroccan?
I don't know Moroccans do. Yakut Yosef says you do. What? What do you say? I got a question. I touched the ice with my hand. I touched my hands. Huh? Mishnah Berurah writes, Mishnah Berurah says if you dip your finger in water, תבל אצבעו במשקה, ומוצץ אין צריך נטילה. זה לא תקנו את הידיים לשתיית משקים, not for liquids. You can dip your drink in it, you don't have to. It's only when you dip food, not when you drink. Interesting. I'm just to put my ice in there. All right.
Even though it's a liquid that's making it so.
Yeah, it's incredible. Let me just make specific takanot and we follow the takanot.
So at the end, Rabbi, we have to wash.
We should watch.
I just tell you, I'll give you the opinions and you decide. Magen Avraham, and used to be the prevailing custom, you don't need to wash your hands before eating wet food. Okay, you have the Chayei Adam. On the other hand, you have the Shulchan Aruch, the Rama, the Mishnah Berurah, the Taz, Rabbi Zalman Auerbach. You put yourself, how they should wash your hand before eating any food which is wet without bracha. Any wet fruit, which is normal, any food which is normal to dip.
It's not that you have to actively dip.
Okay, no, sandia is naturally wet. Has to be you dip it in water. The fruit we said has to be. By the way, you have to understand that
For the outside.
we're only talking about shiva mashkin. Sandia juice or orange juice is not mashke. So if you dip you think in orange is no problem. So sandia anyway is no problem.
Yeah, but
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, but it was talking about the outside of the fruit as well.
Sandia, yeah. What?
And
Sure. Okay.
You've been melon.
Okay. By the way, I just want to show you something. I don't know. That you've got, okay, you know what? Ask me that question in a few minutes. I'll give you a few examples. Tell me where it compares to. I really want to cover ground here. Guys, we should need. Okay, I want to finish this. So I want to give you a few examples now. And you'll see that most people already keep this halacha anyway, most of the time, without realizing it. Yeah, and with a bit more conscious effort, we can apply it in everywhere. So let's see, to keep all opinions. First question. You've got vegetables and croutons in a soup. You're eating chicken soup with vegetables and croutons. You have to wash your hands before eating the soup.
no,
Why not?
you're adding exactly.
Okay. What do you mean? The carrot is dipped in the soup and the crouton is dipped in the soup. That's the what? I'm not saying you put carrot in the soup.
You're not having it with your hand.
Okay. Okay, so very good. So on the one hand, you eat the wet food. On the other hand, you're not using your hands. Okay, so you're not using wet food because you're using a spoon. So Mishnah Berurah Sif Katan Kavav is very important. משבוע סעיף קטן כ"ו writes והאחרונים הסכימו דמיני תבשיל cooked food כיוון שאין דרך ליגע בו ביד because you don't touch with your hand אלא לאכול בכף because it's normal to eat spoon soup with a spoon אין צריך נטילת ידיים ואפילו אם נוגע בו בדרך מקרה בתוך הכף even now you eat with a spoon you might be touching the carrot or the crouton she's in a spoon גם אין צריך נטילה וכן נוהגים that's the מנהג אוקיי? אבל מה שדרך ליגע בו בידה something should normally eat with your hands אף על פי שאוכל בכלי even if you take it with a spoon you can say you wash your apple I can't be bothered doing that today okay I put a fork in apple and like this it's not the normal way of eating so it's not going to help you something should normally eaten with a spoon you don't have to wash your hands
Something they usually with your hand.
what?
You eat your soup like this.
Yeah, what?
You just have something you usually don't
Did I make a mistake? Something they normally eat with your hand using a spoon doesn't help something they use with a spoon is fine
So if somebody has
Be careful with the pick.
if somebody has I know somebody has breakfast.
yeah
There's someone.
yeah
With cereal.
yeah
They follow me.
you don't have to because you eat with a spoon always you don't with your hands
Somebody's fruits.
doesn't matter but it's eaten in a bowl it's eaten as cereal depends on the kind of dish you have
You wash your hands for Hamotzi.
yeah
Say Hamotzi.
yeah
And then if you want to have a cucumber in brine.
funny you wash hamotzi no when you wash hamotzi it covers everything why yeah but your hands are clean for the whole meal
Are you talking about the
yeah wash your hands yeah of course yeah okay so
Bayles.
doesn't help you because they normally eat with their hands video
Rabbi Bayles.
Okay. Ma, that's something else. Dry fruit, yeah. Okay. Similarly,
Having the olive. You can't use a spoon.
it's not going to help you. נכון. You do berachot before the meal. If you're olive during the meal, no problem. Because you covered with katadayim. If you have berachot before and you take an olive with your hand or with a spoon, it's not going to help you. Unless it's normal to eat. But not, I don't know, depends which. Where are we reading?
Then you can have more. For the people who are not here.
Why is it in Mishal? I think because this Mishavah says because Davar Muvshal is normal to Davar Muvshal is normal to eat a cup. With this Mishavah explained Davar Muvshal is normal to eat with a cup. Yeah, but no, I don't think because the mashke Muvshal. The way Mishavah, I'm not sure Beretev. The way Mishavah explains, he said like this: the minet tavshil kivan she'en derech ligua bayad. Yeah. There's another one, but. Here we say, okay, משב also brings, פירות המבושלים במים, יש דעות בינם האחרונים וצריכים נטילת ידיים, therefore you have to eat with the cup, אם יש משקה תפח עליהם. ובכבושים, like pickles, ודאי נאכל לך נטילת ידיים, unless it's dry. Yeah, you're right, it might be special in cooked liquids, you have to look at it.
Rabbi Bayles.
Sorry,
Bayles.
can you be quiet? Somebody's talking on Zoom, I'm trying to hear. Yes?
Thank you. What's the halacha if somebody eats, say, fruit salad? So an apple, a wet apple, you can't eat it with a fork. You have to wash. What happens if it's chunks of apple?
Very good. So if it's a fruit salad or any other salad, it's fruit salad or salad, it's normal to eat with a spoon. You don't eat fruit salad with your hands. It's not normal. Therefore, you don't need to wash your hands to eat a salad they sprinkle with oil or fruit salad, which is going to eat, what do you put in fruit salad? The liquid in fruit salad? You wash the fruit before. Oranges is not liquid, it's not mashke. Except, choose the oranges we get today from concentrate and they add lots of water. It is a mashke. But you know, you wash the fruit and you cut them up.
I don't just like the meat, that way.
Doesn't matter. I think you go after the rov. You'll see. You'll see now, guys.
Oh,
Yeah, okay, guys. I really want to finish this. Guys, okay. We need to. I need to go really fast now, okay? Because I want to cover this. I need to finish this off. You'll see. Most of the question will be answered with what we read now. So 41. The Avnei Ashpeh writes that today. For example, he writes here, basar ve'of tzli u'mevushal. I've got meat or chicken, roasted, cooked. Im ratuv b'mayim, tzarich letat yadayim. Of course, you have to wash your hands. Mikol makom bi'amenu noagim le'echol basar b'sakin v'zeh. We eat meat with the hands. We eat with a fork and knife. Lochne b'yadayim. We do it with your hands. Im ken dameh ledin anal shelo tzarich letat yadayim. So again, another example. You'd have to wash your hands. Sometimes you touch it. It doesn't matter. Ikar achilato b'yadayim. So even though it's so therefore, because meat you eat with a fork and knife, you don't need to wash your hands, which implies that something you do it with your hands. For example, chicken wings. If it's chicken wings from a barbecue, unless it's dry already, that's what people said, it's dried up. If it's not dried up and it's still wet from the barbecue, or you add barbecue sauce afterwards, whatever.
But barbecue sauce is not from the Shiur.
Yeah.
No, it's water. You can't water.
It's not, yeah.
It's mostly water or honey or what. It doesn't matter. Okay, we'll talk about Mishaboi in a moment. Okay, ketchup, you also have to wash your hands. Okay. Okay, in other words, okay, so the barbecue wings that you normally eat with your hands, you might have to wash your hands. Okay, Pri Megadim in שעת ציון ציב קטן כ"ב. שקוק נ"ח שעת ציון ציב קטן כ"ב קוראות לפי מגדים. אפשר שיש להקל בכורך ידיו במפה או שלובש בתי ידיים. So he quotes here that you can have a lenient approach if you always cover your hand with a cloth or glove and eat the wet food, even if it's normally eaten with the hand, it works. Why? Because there is an opinion which we mentioned, I don't know if we mentioned this one, but the Rambam holds you can always wrap your hand with a cloth to eat, even if it's water available. Remember we said only if you are 1 kilometer this way, 4 kilometers that way, to use this special letter of covering your hand. So lehalacha, you can't rely on it unless there's no water within the distance that we spoke about. Shitat Rambam is that you can always cover your hand and eat, always. Even if you got water here, I don't wash my hands, I just put a glove and I'm eating. That's Shitat Rambam. Says the Pri Megadim that although we don't pascal like the Rambam, but regarding bread, but with regards to eating wet food, we can rely on the Rambam, okay? And therefore, if you another solution, so comes out a big chidush. If you're not touching the food with your hand, like even something normally touched with your hand, but if you use a glove or a fork, even if it's not a derech, it doesn't matter. Because since you've got Shitat Rambam, that when you don't touch with your hand is mutar, therefore, even something that normally you don't eat with the fork, you want to eat the olive, the pickle, whatever, with a fork, that's the Pri Megadim wants to be mekel. Yesh lakel, that's the Shita he wants to.
And it's not an extension.
Yeah.
It's extension or it doesn't?
No,
With the cloud, you won't get it actually accidentally with the fork, you might.
No, but I tell you why. I tell you, it's not written in Pri Megadim, but I don't know. It's a cheshbon. I didn't see written anywhere else. It's Bichat Chaver. But in Siman Kuf Samech Gimel, the Rama writes, if you cover your hands with a makar, or ochel al yedei kaf. So the Rama himself writes that using a spoon is like covering your hands. So if you can rely on that shita for everything. Okay. Okay, so basically, Abatai, today most wet food are eaten with utensil, and you don't need to wash your hand before eating them, even if occasionally you might touch the food. Okay, now let's talk about the pickle with the kugel. So we said, according to many poskim, before eating pickles, you should wash your hands, okay? You have to wash your hands when you eat your shalme kugel, and you've got the pickle on top. So you have to wash your hand if you eat the pickle with your hand. Tabshamas Zalman Auerbach writes what Giacomo said before. He says, Yesh lakel b'ntilah zu, לדבר שטיבולי, number 42, שאוכלות כתפל למאכל, אחר שאין טיבולי במשקה. כגון, אכילת קוגל עם מלפפון. If you eat the kugel with a pickle, you don't make a bracha on a pickle. Why? Because it's tafel. We said the pickle is tafel. To the kugel, you make mezonot on a kugel, you don't add them on a pickle. And therefore, he says tafel, is patur from bracha, not that when you make mezonot, it's including, there's two svarot. When you make mezonot, does it include the pickle? Or no? When you make mezonot, the pickle doesn't exist. When it's tafel, it's as if it doesn't exist. So you're eating something that doesn't exist, you have to wash your hands. That's an interesting svara. If tafel, it's as if it's not there. If it's this svara that you make a bracha on kugel, it's including the pickle, then you made a bracha on the pickle, then it's never. No difference. What's wet? Wet has to be tofech and not piach. Wet means it's wet enough. So if you touch it, you touch somewhere else. It has to be enough. I put my hand here and I put my hand there, the water has been transferred. If it's very, very little water, it doesn't matter. Okay, dipping a cracker in a tea. I'm going fast now. I'm really have to finish. If one dip is cracker in tea or cake or in whiskey, then do you have to wash your hands or not? So yes, you have to wash your hands before, even if you're not touching the actual liquid. You mean the piece of cake that you're touching or the biscuit doesn't get wet. It doesn't matter. Therefore, you should wash your hands. Oh, the Or Letzion writes, number 43. We're going to come to feel very interesting chidushim here. Number 43. Or Letzion, המטבל עוגיות וכדומה בכוס תה. You dip your biscuit in tea or בגביע אשל or in leban, that's a yogurt. האם צריך לטול ידיו to wash your hands? תשובה, אם מחזיק את העוגיה בידו, צריך לטול ידיו. Yes, you have to wash your hands. אפילו אם נזהר שלא ייגע במשקה, even if you're careful not to touch, you have to wash your hands. Okay, he says you have to. However, Yalkut Yosef, isn't this beautiful chidush? And that's not get to what you were more before. Just remember now. Look at Yalkut Yosef. האוכל עוגה או ביסקוויט, a biscuit, פחות מכזית, less than כזית, ומטבילה לתוך כוס תה או קפה חם. So you've got a biscuit less than a כזית, small piece of biscuit, and you dip into tea or coffee. אפילו אם ידיו נוגעות משקה, even if you touch a liquid, אין צריך לטול ידיו, didn't wash your hands. Why? Even though normally you do have to wash your hands, here you don't have to. Why? כיוון שמטבל בדבר מבושל, something cooked, וגם הוא פחות מכזית. So what is it? Explained in the bottom, it's sfek sfeka. What is that sfek sfeka? Maybe less than kazait, you don't have to wash your hands. That's what said the night.
Why is
The
it
people,
less than a kazait?
you're stickled in a pickle because we have to eat less than a kazait, yeah, and you have to wash your hands. Anyway, okay, very good. So, maybe less than kazait, you don't have to wash your hands. And even if you say you do have to wash your hands after you wash on Seder night, yeah, that's one of the answers. That's kids. Why don't you make a bracha Friday? One of the answers. Why don't you make a bracha when you dip your karpas? Because it's kazait. Okay, in other words, even though the master we do need to time even less than kazait, but shema davar megusha lo chashit b'mashke. There's another tzad, could be only once you cook a liquid, it's losing its qualities of the shiva mashkim, and therefore you patur. Lefichach he makes a tziruf. Bet asvarot. Even though I don't rely on each opinion by itself. In other words, less than kazait, I do wash my hands. Tibulo in a tea cooked, I do wash my hands. The combination of the two leniencies, that it's not kazait and
Either salt water or vinegar, whatever different. That's nice also.
Salt water is not cooked.
It is boiled water.
It's true, it's true. Oh, very good. Oh, it's a good one, yeah. And less kazait, boy, it's good to just say pashut, you don't have, so you don't have to wash your hands. All right. Very good. All right. So now, because that's Rabbi Ovadia, he wants to make a leniency. He said Rabbi Ovadia loves to do the things. He takes the tzirufim, so it's an interesting approach. Okay, one more point. So if you make sure your cracker is less than a kazait, or you break it into small pieces, and each piece is less than a kazait, you can eat it without washing your hands. Though this became a big debate in Smirat Chaver because you combine all the things. Because somebody said if you dip your ketchup, he said there's a big rabbi who every time he dipped his chips in ketchup, he washed his hands. So it became all debate: is ketchup water, raw water, maybe it is, whatever. But then somebody said no, but each ketchup, each one is less than kazait, and then it became all debate: you combine everything or not. And it brings the raya from Mishnah Berurah that you do combine. So it became an all debate. Okay, another solution. I'm finishing with this 2 minutes. Is the Even Yashpeh. Quoted above, you write that if you break no, a second. If you crack, no, if you make it so small, you can't anymore use your hand, you have to use a spoon. That's another solution. If you have to break it so small, you have to use a spoon. But anyway, Mishabas Siv Katan Kavav writes, that's what Shai wants to hear. But this I've been waiting to get the Shai because you keep on making a comment and I needed to say this to you. So Mishnah Berurah, a very interesting one. Mishnah Berurah Seiv Katan Chafvav writes about whiskey. Okay, so he writes Where is it? Here. כתב דרך החיים, האוכל לקח. Okay, whatever. וטובל לקח בעין שרף. He dips his cookie into whiskey. לא אוהב דבר שטיבלו במשקה. Whiskey is not טיבלו במשקה. Why? משום דזיעה עם התבואה והמי פירות. How do you make whiskey? It's sweat of מי פירות. No, but it's taken from, it's not the שיבה משקים. It's not water, it's made from the מי פירות. ואף אם היין מזוג הוא במים, even if it's whiskey is diluted with water, that's the amount of, that's the grading of the alcohol. Not depends. What? Oh, it depends. מכל מקום מועט, it's just a little bit. ולא צריך נטילה. משמע, מזה דעים המים הוא רוב. He says, if the water is majority לפי הגרדין, going to the gradient, going to the percentage, whatever, then it's a משקה. So what do you see from Yeshaya? The whiskey, if it's diluted with water, I have to look at the water content. Okay, so it comes out. Okay, so if the whiskey is mostly, no, but schmaltzering is no water. It's olive oil. It's not olive oil, it's no problem. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, so it comes out an interesting discussion. So okay, let's just wrap this up. So what emerges what we learned above. So ideally you should do netilat yadayim for eating wet food, like fruits or vegetables, that's right, without bracha, if you washed it for whatever reason. But we saw 6 leniencies. Number 1, if food go wet from liquid other than 7, if it go wet other than shiva mashkim, for example, you peel an orange and your hand is wet from the juice and you don't have to wash your hands. Orange juice is no problem. Number 2, eating wet food using utensil when you normally eat with a utensil. Normally use with a spoon, that's number 2. Number 3, using a keli on wet food, even if normally is not, you don't use a fork, but you got the Pri Megadim Skula. He says you can take the olive with a fork. So he said unless the olive is less than kazait, but kazait means like an olive. So I've got a problem with what he said. Okay, number 4, eating wet foods, which is tafel. If it's tafel, like the pickle on the thing. No, crouton is part. I'm saying if it's the pickle of the Yoshabi kugel. Number 5, if it's less than kazait, into cooked liquid. We've got the Alkut Yosef. Though the Mishabua argues, because Mishabua spoke about dipping a cake less than kazait into whiskey, which is cooked. So I don't know. It's you see how Mishabua argues over there. If you read that carefully, yeah, the Mishabua writes that he said over there that even the cake is less than kazait. They're dipping it in water-based whiskey, which is cooked. It doesn't agree to the combination. Yeah, Mishabua clearly doesn't agree. Okay, number 6, liquid that falls onto food that is not normally wet. Yeah, something you don't usually dip, we said it's mutar. But chicken wings, we spoke about, could be a problem. When you eat sushi and you dip into soy sauce. Sushi in soy sauce. Most of the soy sauce is water. The main ingredient is water.
It's not water.
Yes. No, Mishmash just says whiskey. The same thing. Okay. Okay. This is just 2 more. Can I say one more thing? Allowed to talk between washing and eating wet food. Mishabuat Tiv Katan Chaf says that all the halachot that apply to netilat yadayim for bread, they apply to netilat yadayim for food. And therefore you should not talk. Number 45, and lasiach benetila letima. You don't talk. Yes, therefore Seder night you shouldn't talk. Okay.
But he don't say benachat, so you keep quiet forever.
What? Okay, people think you can talk, you can't. And okay. Now you shouldn't talk.
No.
Shouldn't talk.
You don't say let me start.
You can talk l'shem mitzvah tzeder, whatever, if it's nogat to this. Now, one more thing. Do you have to dry your hands or not? That's a very interesting one. You have to wash your hands, but you have to dry your hands because for bread, he says you have to dry your hands.
You have to know.
Oh, so do you have to dry your hands or not? So Pri Megadim number 46 says, "B'davar she'tilu b'mashkeh, yesh lomar." It's a very important one because I really I never knew this. Yesh lomar she'en tzarich niguv. Why? Because lachmam tameh alechem nimas. Only bread gets spoiled by being wet. You don't wash your bread on the top, but he just washed your cucumber. You know, so you can't say it's getting spoiled by the water, and therefore, yeah, it says lachmam, the bread. The drying one's hand is only for bread because bread ruins it, but not for the other things. However, according to what Moshe says, very good. According to the opinion that drying removes the tumah from the hands, then it seems that you'd need to dry your hands unless you wash with more than a reed, which in this case, remaining water in hand is not a mess. So that's really a debatable thing. Shkoyach, thank you very much. Just an announcement. Temporarily, the Sium will be Sunday night, not this Sunday, the next Sunday. Assuming the Lian Sol is available, I'm still negotiating with people might have taken it. I don't know. We'll see. I'll try to confirm. Chazak Baruch.
Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome to come to the Sium. Sium Sunday, come over.
Thank you, Chef.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.